Good morning, early game crew. Halfway through the week, going into another big SEC game against Kentucky. Coach Shane Beamer spoke yesterday, and we're going to break down a lot that was discussed because there's a lot to get to. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. No Jen Jensen today, but we will be discussing a couple of themes from the press conference. Really, the main one, Preston Thorne, the big L word. No, not the one you may be thinking of. Leadership.
What was the temperature in the press conference yesterday?
It was a little lighter.
A little lighter?
I will say it was lighter than last week.
Okay. All right. Lighter.
Vibe felt better.
Okay, the vibe was a little bit better. So leadership emerged as one of the consistent theme of this conversation. Obviously, this is in reference to the team. Who's the leadership? What is leadership? What does leadership involve? All of those different aspects of a word, which is sort of thrown around very loosely, but nobody seems to have a definition for it. Nobody's really probably even studied it. We just, especially when it comes to sports, we just say stuff, right?
We just say a lot of stuff. Yesterday, we are just saying stuff is complimentary football and having to find out what it means. But now we're going to rechannel our in bloom Kurt Cobain here and say we don't know what it means when we say leadership.
Yeah, we don't, because there's various definitions, various examples, and it comes in all different shapes and sizes. But when we say things, you get into terms like he's an alpha.
I hate that one.
They need alphas. Who's the alpha? And it's like, when did it start? One.
I didn't know we were a pack of wolves.
Yeah, is patently false. It's not even a thing. But it's something that we've accepted in the sports world. And so, by the definition of what we've accepted in the sports world, these are some of what the conversation is based around. And it's not necessarily true or real when you start to have these conversations, because teams are way more complex than who's the alpha, who's going to say something. We need somebody to get in somebody's face.
People only feel better when somebody gets really mad about things. And I think the more I've lived life, the more I realize the madder I get about something, the worse I make a situation.
Well, yeah, it's never great for you. They don't often serve you. So I think this is a very interesting conversation. It is worth having because maybe it's not necessarily apparent, especially it becomes not necessarily apparent when the team is losing.
Yes, and I think one of the big things from last year to this year is you did lose a lot of experience, especially on the defensive side of the ball, right? There were many themes that cost you the game against Missouri. One of those was the missed tackles. And I think when you talk about the defensive side of the football, what you lost last year, you did lose a lot of what you would consider traditional leadership, right? I mean, because we heard all last season how vocal Demetrius Knight was, how vital he was to the operation in terms of being an example and taking a leadership role. Yesterday, but it was about halfway through the press conference, Coach Beamer was asked about leadership on this team and who the leaders are now that a lot of the guys they looked to on that side of the ball specifically for leadership are gone.
Yeah, I do, John. We got a lot of guys that care. It's a different style, if you will. I mean, that was a special group last year because you had some grown men last year. D. Knight, Debo, Tonka, Boogie, Vershawn. I mean, there was a lot of guys like that. Kai Kroger had been around this program longer than I had been. Hunter Rogers. I mean, there was just a strong group. Josh Simon, on and on and on and on. I mean, I can't name them all. Torsell, Kamar. I mean, you think about it, there were a lot of older guys, and we're really young right now. It just is. You look at the number of seniors that were starting and playing meaningful snaps for us last year compared to the number of seniors that are starting and playing meaningful snaps for us this year. There's a difference, and that's okay. I mean, that's college athletics, and that's coaching. And it was certainly, it's not like I'm oblivious to it. I knew as soon as the season ended that we were going to have to replace a lot of leadership from the 24 team to the 25 team, and we went to work at it hard in January all through the off-season program, the summer, to develop that leadership and build those guys up. And it's a different style, but we've still got a really solid group of guys that are passionate and care, that have been around here for a long time. Nick Barrett, DQ, Luke Doty. There's a lot of guys that are either they're very invested in this program because of how long they've been here, or transfers that have come in that are, really solid guys that are leaders on this team. Brady Hunt, young guys, Fred Johnson, on and on. So yes, to answer your question, it's still a work in progress, but those guys are very, very passionate about it. Meet with a group of them regularly each week, and they want to get this thing right, and know that being a leader means having uncomfortable conversations with people, and you've got to confront and you've got to demand, and seeing more and more signs of that.
So he says it looks a lot different. The team is a lot younger, so the leadership's going to look different. But the last part's the one I wanted to focus on too. Having uncomfortable conversations, how much that actually reflects leadership and how willing you have to be able to do that, especially when you do drop your first 2 SEC games. Things aren't going to get any easier, and you're only going to have to be able to find, usually within a locker room and a coaching staff, whatever the solution is to be able to turn things around.
Yeah, and it's not that you're going to have a major, big, uncomfortable conversation. Come sit here, son. Let's sit on the couch. Let's talk. It's not like that, but it's a consistent chatter that is happening all the time. When somebody jumps off sides in practice, you got to say, hey, that's not acceptable. When somebody shorts a rep during the summertime, that's not how we do things here. Touch the line. Whatever the case is, it's going to have to be a consistent thing. That could be your vocal leader. You could be the person who's just always doing the right thing. And you notice that as a team, that dude consistently shows up, consistently does the right thing. He's always where he needs to be when he needs to be there. That's leadership by display. Various ways that can happen, but it has to be consistent, and it has to be all the time happening.
And what are some of those different types of leadership? Well, Shane Beamer touched on that yesterday too.
I think we know who the leaders are on this team. Like Lenoris Sellers was voted a permanent captain by his teammates last year. Lenoris hardly ever, says a word. We just came from a leadership meeting where we were talking about a lot of things, and I said, anything on your mind that you want to talk about, Lenoris? And he just wanted to talk about what helmets we were wearing Saturday night, so, which I love. It's an important topic of discussion. There's no question about it, but he's got his own leadership style, but guys respect him. I was with Jalen Hurts at Oklahoma. Jalen hardly ever said a word, but because of how he worked, people followed him. I was with Kyler Murray at Oklahoma, same type thing. Kyler's personality was different than Jalen's, but he was a leader and players respected him. So you don't have to be the guy that's always just rah, rah, rah all the time. But Brandon Cisse for us, to me, he's one of those new transfers that's a leader on this team. He don't say a whole lot, but just watch the guy. Like the way he handles his business, he's a pro's pro. So there's examples of that. I used an example this morning with the team in the team meeting about Trovon and a conversation he and I had yesterday that conveyed leadership to me and gave that as an example to our players. To answer your question though, Lulu, yes, there are times where knowing the impact that certain guys have on our team, you maybe pat them on the butt to, hey, go celebrate a little bit more here, or go, they need to feel your energy in this moment. But at the same time, I don't want guys to be somebody that they're not either. So it's got to be genuine, but really I think it's just conveying to them the impact that this team, that they can have on this team, and realizing, that their words matter, whether it be Lenoris or Brandon or Tro or anybody on this team.
It can't be anybody. It can't be anybody. And that's a falsehood about teams. It can't just be anybody. You can't be just a dude on the team getting in people's face, because it does not work like that. You have to be somebody.
You have to play normally, unless you're Udonis Haslem.
Exactly. And Udonis Haslem can invite you to these hands if necessary, right? That's his.
I don't want to fight him.
Exactly. That's his thing that he has in his back pocket. Do you want to fight?
And also, I've been here longer than you've been alive for some of you
Right. So
during his last years.
this is a wonderful topic because I think the first thing that everybody has to understand about teams, about organizations, but specifically football teams, is that the best player can be the leader. He does not have to be the leader, but you hope he is the leader, right? He can be. He doesn't have to be, but as a coach, you hope it is. Because it makes everything a lot easier when your best player is also the leader or the guy that is at the front of the line. Doesn't always happen like that, but it makes things a lot easier when you're trying to get your point across.
And that's really where two different leadership styles come in. You could be the traditional leader that people kind of look at as somebody who is maybe the mouthpiece of the team, or you can be the hardest worker. Because I think there's a lot of value in there, too. I mean, you heard him kind of summon his days at Oklahoma when they had Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts, and he said both those guys also not really vocal leaders, but if they are your hardest worker, that does rub off on people, and it is an example, and I think there's a lot of value to that, too. You know, I don't think LaNorris has to be the guy that's tearing into people, but if you're not that, which is fine, everybody's different, you have to be the hardest worker. Because that's who people are going to look at the most.
Well, I think you had a great setup last year where your best player on offense was buoyed by all of these other leaders. And so LaNorris did not have to step into that position. Same thing on defense. Dylan Stewart, probably your most talented player on the defense, he didn't have to be a vocal. He didn't even have to lead. He just had to go out there and ball. Now this year we're looking at him for some extra things, and he may not be there yet in his stages of development. Quite frankly, he may never get there because that might not be what his game is. And so sometimes we expect this out of certain players when it may be there, it may be developing, or it just may never come. And that's why every year is a different year with the team. Even if you have some of the same players, it's still a different year. The last part I wanted to say is that there is a level you have to be somebody who is contributing. Right, you can't just have been around for a long time.
Right.
That's cool, but it's also like, all right, man. you know,
It'll fall a little flat if you're also not producing on the field and you're mad at somebody else for not producing on the field.
You can't. Come on, guys, let's go. We gotta. Sir,
what is it you do here? Are you the hired yeller?
That's something that has to be figured out. And so all of these things are tricky. Obviously, as a coaching staff, you have to figure those things out.
Yeah, and really, that a lot of leadership stuff has to come internally too. Like somebody has to be the voice on that team to be able to be somebody that everybody listens to, right? And again, preferably, it lands a little better when you're somebody that's on the field a lot, right? But that also comes not just from holding people accountable, but like in-play communication. Like the offensive line needs a really good in-play communicator. And that's why I think when you saw Case and Henry go down, the line got worse. You can maybe say he is the leader of the offensive line, right? That's where it becomes really valuable. It's not just yelling at people. It's communicating on the football field when things need to be done. Somebody needs to be the master communicator. You could tell Demetrius Knight was really good at that. You could tell a lot of the guys that were on defense last year. Debo Williams, really good at that. Great on-field communicators. Whoever the green dot is, right? You are supposed to be the on-field communicator. And in that situation, you have been given the responsibility of a form of leadership because we know that this can go in many different roles. Something to be able to keep in mind in terms of how this team is able to correct things moving forward, who the players are that step up in that on-field communication and those leadership by example roles. Just something to watch. But another theme, and this also kind of goes hand in hand because one way to fix one of your problems like penalties, especially pre- and post-snap penalties, leadership, the accountability part. What did Shane have to say about correcting some of those penalties? Because that was really the thing that killed you. One of the things that killed you on Saturday. One thing that definitely can't happen moving forward. Shane addressed that yesterday. We'll hear what he had to say coming up next here on the early game. From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with one early accident this morning that's causing some traffic backup, and that's going to be over in Lexington County, I-26 westbound over at Sunset Boulevard near exit 110. It's causing a little bit of a minor traffic backup. And in terms of how it's going to feel outside today, no rain, pretty sunny it looks like. A high of 90, a low of 67, which is about what it is right now. So that's how we're looking today. And then over the weekend, a 40% chance of storms on Friday, 70% on Saturday, something to watch for the game. And then on Sunday, 40% chance of rain and thunderstorms. Daring Carolina's 29-20 loss to Missouri. Something happened. 14 things happened. Those 14 things are not allowed on a football field. When you do them, a little yellow flag is thrown. And if you're on offense, you move back. And if you're on defense, the opposing offense gets to move forward. Those are pretty brutal mistakes. And you can't have 14 of them in a game, especially when your offense is already having a hard time going forward, and already, as Clark Brooks has told us for the fourth year in a row, led the SEC in going backwards. You can't give the opponent anything whenever your offense is in a little bit of a rut like that. So what did Shane say about the 14 penalties when he was asked about it again after a full session of reviewing the tape? Well, here's what he said yesterday.
Yeah, goes back to, you always look at it, and we talk about penalties after every game. We come in here on Sundays. We have a team meeting right there next door where we show the penalty on tape. We talk about why it happened. We talk about how it can happen. We need to talk about how we coach it better, whether it be a pre-snap, during the play. But clearly that message isn't getting through the right way to this year's team. It's what we've done for the last few years since I've been here, but it's not resonating like it needs to. So you can't just continue to say, I'm going to go in there and show penalties on video. We did, but then there's some things in practice that we've tweaked and adjusted on how we handle it when it happens in practice. And we'll see if it's better on Saturday night. And if it is, I'll tell you after post game what it was. And if not, forget we ever did it, and we'll figure out something different next week.
Get them chopping. Hit it. Get on the line.
I was going to say, get on the line. We're going to put people on the line later in the show.
I believe when Shane says we made some adjustments and we're going to be doing some things to address it when it happens, I believe it's some form of immediate corrective action. Mm-hmm. Immediate.
Probably a system in place for if you get called for a pre-snap penalty, you owe us some. You're getting on the line.
Yeah, you like your puppy. When your puppy messes up, you can't wait 20 minutes later to tell him that he messed up because he's like, what'd I do?
Nope.
I don't even remember that. What are you talking about? I want a treat. I don't remember peeing in the corner.
I didn't do that. No.
Yeah, I didn't just chew up your favorite shoes. When did that happen? As soon as you chews your shoes up, you got to put it in.
You shove the shoe in their face and say, this is what you did. This is what you did. We're not going to do it again.
Exactly. And even when they become old dogs, you still have to do that to them because they still act like they don't have any memory. Shout out to you, Riley. But yes, there has to be immediate corrective action when things are happening in practice. You can't just slide by. You can't glance and say, we'll get it right later. You can't do anything. It has to be addressed. Everything has to be stopped because you know what? Everything does stop in a game when you make a bad penalty, especially your pre-snap things. You can't just let it ride in practice.
No. I mean, what's the thing that was being mentioned earlier in the week? It's either – like you coach it.
You either coach it or you allow it.
Or you allow it.
That's that's a old timey coaching phrase that coaches usually tell assistant coaches when you're not doing your job. I've heard that phrase as an assistant coach. As a D-line coach, my dudes are jumping off sides. Coach, you either coach it or allow it. And you know, like
a lot.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, that hurt. That stings.
Mm-hmm. It's because it's a bad reflection.
It is a reflection on you. Everything as a coach, that is your work being on the field. And so when you see things that happen, sometimes you say, "Oh, that's good coaching." You see things that happen like, "Oh, discipline." Think about we haven't even if your team can't not false start, that means you can't go with tempo. You can't go on 2. Because who knows when the snap count comes. So you're already limiting your bag of things that you can do as an offense because we can't get the basics right.
It has to become really simplified. And yes, while in theory, like, yeah, okay, let's just simplify things. Not as good, because guess what the other side of the field gets to do? They get to get a jump because they know when you're going to snap the ball every time. Because when you have a hard time getting the snap count together, they're going to be able to get that jump, and then you've made something like pass blocking, already a difficult task, even harder, right?
For sure, because if as a defensive lineman, I know y'all are going on 1,000, 2,000, snap. I'll time that up eventually.
It might not take long, too. I mean,
correct.
Especially if you have to do it at the beginning of the game, especially if going in on Saturday, the consensus in the room is, hey, to avoid this is how we're going to do it. It might take, what, a quarter to figure that out? I mean, when you're a defensive lineman, especially even if you're on the road, it could probably take you, what, a quarter to figure out if they're just running the same count every single time. It probably becomes a lot easier for you on the defensive line to be able to.
Right. And the antidote to that as an offense is you say, okay, we're going to go on 2. We might go, hey. We might go on 3. But if your O-line can't hold their water, then it just limits the things you can do. And so when you look at that, I just looking at the numbers, I mean, 129 out of 136 in total penalties.
Ugh.
That's not a neighborhood you want to live in.
Well, you can't win that way.
Well, yeah, I didn't write the other teams that were around it, but rest assured, the other teams that were in that neighborhood, garbage.
I was going to say, you're probably seeing some Middle Tennessee State on there.
I'm gonna go back and look and see some of those other folks that live around us in this bad neighborhood that we trying desperately to get out of.
You might spot a Kent State. You might spot some teams that you just don't want to be associated with.
It's not where it's the neighborhood you don't want to live in, because winners don't live in the penalty neighborhood. It's like litter all around. All the yellow flags of litter just around everybody's yard. Pick up your trash.
What's your laundry doing in your front yard? Pick it up. Go take it inside and wash it, right? But there's laundry all over the field every time, seemingly when you play, and that's an issue. That's an issue because you're giving away free yards, whether it be for the defense or the offense. And for your offense, too, again, you are struggling to move the ball forward on a play-by-play basis. You lead the SEC in negative plays and negative play percentage. When 12% of your plays go backwards, that doesn't account for false starts. That doesn't count for procedural penalties, for breaking the huddle with 12 men. It doesn't account for that. So when you add that to that number, it's probably actually higher than 12%, which is the most damning part.
And right now, this offense is not designed to be able to get more than the minimum of what they need.
Yeah, and well, that's how you got to 3rd and 12 on Saturday on average. Your average distance to go on 3rd down was 3rd and 12. Your best drives were when you were able to avoid 3rd down. But here's the truth in football. You're not always going to be able to avoid 3rd down. Maybe in an FCS game, when you're an FBS team playing an FCS team, then maybe you can avoid 3rd down a lot. But that's not going to be the reality you're playing in, especially when you have some defenses on your schedule that are going to put you in a lot of uncomfortable 3rd down positions.
And as I said this yesterday, I quote this from Rick Lane on Twitter. Over the season, when does this become your identity? It can change, but there's 7 pre-snap penalties versus Virginia Tech, 5 versus South Carolina State, 4 versus Vandy, 7 versus Missouri. That can change. Maybe corrective actions are being put in place this week, and we'll see if things change. But as of right now, your identity is of an undisciplined team. And I keep saying over and over again, the responsibilities of an offensive coordinator are not just calling plays. It is to coordinate the offense, and this is part of that.
And if you're the player, too, the corrective action needs to be learned from, right? It's one thing, like, you can yell at me to do something, and I don't do it right, and I still continue to mess up and do the corrective punishments or whatever it is that I have to do. But unless I fix that, I'm just going to be doing that a lot. I'm just going to be running gassers or up downs,
I hadn't heard gases in a long time.
I was going to say, when's the last time that you've heard that in conversation?
Nice.
It's been a while, but until I fix it, until I put it upon myself to fix it, it's going to be hard to fix. Sometimes jumping off sides can be a game of inches, but football as a whole, definitely a game of inches. South Carolina learned that the hard way on Saturday, and so did a few other teams in the world of football. We'll tell you who those teams are coming up next.
Press here for our folks at Integrated Media. We've been trying to tell you all year that football season was coming. Guess what? It's week 4. We are here, man.
It's been here.
We are here, and you need to get your outdoor setup ready to take advantage of some of this beautiful fall weather that is coming, and the folks from Integrated Media can help you out with that. You can get Samsung Terrace TVs that are waterproof, Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music, Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors, so you can have all your devices playing at the same time. You can have your laptop, your iPhone, your iPad, your TV, quad box, whatever you have going on, the folks at Integrated Media can help you out with it. From home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat or monitoring your security systems from your cell phone, Integrated Media is the company that you need to call. Call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. Or reach them online at integratedmediainc.com.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with thankfully no more accidents causing minor traffic issues. We had one in Lexington County earlier, but that one has since been cleared. So I guess any other traffic backups, not a result of accidents so far. Currently 68 degrees. Looks like the high is going to be 90 today, while we still have a couple more warm days here now that we are officially in the fall season. If you learn anything from any given Sunday, it's Al Pacino telling you that football is a game of inches. And I feel like there might not be a team in college football, NFL even, that learned that quite like South Carolina did on Saturday. We talked about the penalties earlier. Sometimes all it takes is the movement of an inch on the offensive line, a fallback a little bit.
My favorite is when the offensive lineman falls back and he knows that he's just trying to stay in his place. He's like,
And the rare instance where they actually fall all the way back, right? Like they start a little bit and then they completely lose balance and they fall back. That's when it's really funny.
Yeah, for sure.
That's when the weeble wobbles and it does fall down completely.
Yeah, so the thing happens, football can be determined by inches, split seconds, millimeters, very small measurements of time and space can determine can determine contracts, can determine championships, money, all types of things can be determined by a split second, a millimeter, a hair.
Mm-hmm. And really, how different would the game have been on Saturday if in the first quarter, Lenore Sellers has a split second? No, I don't even say a full second, because really when you're in the pocket, a full second is almost an eternity, right? Because of when pressure comes, it comes quick. Getting the ball out and being able to have that perfect amount of timing to have just enough time to get the ball to a receiver, or if you put just enough air on it for your receiver to be able to run under it, or if the receiver stops running for even a split second, then the timing's off completely. And I think that incomplete pass from Lenore Sellers to Mazio Bennett in the first quarter of the game, where it's a total busted coverage, and Mazio is wide open. If he runs under that ball, then he's walking into the end zone. You score first, and you set the tone in that game. But Lenore's got hit a little bit as he threw, put a lot of air under it, maybe just an inch or two too far to the right. Maybe Mazio Bennett doesn't get there fast enough to the ball. And that was really that was a play that was defined by inches. But the consequence, when you look at the scope of the game, ended up being pretty big.
Yeah, and as you said, it can be this butterfly effect where if he catches the ball, you win. Maybe you go out and get a 3 and out. You throw another deep ball, and all of a sudden we're rolling. But it's not how football works, because it is a game of inches, and things can be determined in a split second as far as how that happened. But it's not just South Carolina. It happens all around every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Anywhere football is being played, these things are happening, and that's why we love the game. But when you go back and look at it, it's like, man, we were really, really close. Oftentimes, it gives you pause, because when you go back and look at the film, oftentimes you're not as far off as you think. And then when you're winning and you're feeling like, your chest is all out and you're feeling all proud, you look back and you're like, that could have been different.
Even in the successes Carolina had in the game on Saturday, game of inches, right? You look at that touchdown throw to Vandrevius Jacobs on the free play, right? Somebody jumping offside gives you a free play. Game of inches are not like they're offside by a foot or two. Offsides by inches. You snap the ball because you have only milliseconds to do it when someone jumps. And then on the pass, too, I don't think that ball could have gone anywhere else and it be caught. I mean, really, there's one place where you could throw it because Vandrevius Jacobs, personally, was interfered with. I mean, that defensive back was draped all over him. They could have thrown 2 flags on that play. That ball could only gone to one spot, and Lenore Sellers put it there at the perfect spot. And that's one of those game of inches things that you benefited from. Honestly, a couple of throws were tight window throws. Missouri was dropping back a lot in coverage, meaning sometimes when you're making the throw, it can go into a tight window if 2 players are converging on the defense at the right spot. Then that window can get pretty tight. And he was able to complete some through some tight windows. Sometimes the tight window passes are the ultimate game of inches because if you leave it just a little too high or a little too low, it's intercepted or it's an incomplete pass.
What about coming up this weekend on Saturday? I presume who's going to be returning punts on Saturday?
I'd say it's Vakari Swain.
I would say so too. However, game of inches and also game of what is targeting.
Oh,
was he only a specific inch away from that being targeted and him not playing in the first half? Him being thrown out of that game, getting the targeting call, not being played in the first half, not playing DB in the next game, and it's only a matter of did he hit with the crown of his helmet or did he hit with the face mask on his helmet? And that's only like 3 fingers away from a difference.
Right,
of what
it's not much. It's not much. And I'm just going to say it right now. I'm giving up.
We were 0 for 2.
I'm giving up on figuring out what targeting is because I thought the rule was pretty black and white. Forceful contact, head, neck area with the helmet.
And to be clear, according to the rules as they are stated now, I do think that was a targeting call.
Yeah.
I do think that was a targeting penalty.
I mean, we're sitting out there watching this game being like, oh, man, that's a bummer because he's gone. Yeah. And it's like, what else is he going to do?
Well, it's because the way he went in. He went in head down, head down, head first. That's 0 for 2. And then the player was on the ground already. It seemed like that should have been a targeting penalty. They didn't call it game of inches.
Take it.
And so now, because of that, Vakari Swain is going to be able to return punts, play DB, at least in the first half on Saturday, which was up in the air.
It's really funny. I went back to watch yesterday after the press conference. I got home, and I'm watching Indiana, Illinois, because I'm like, I got to see what the hell happened. I need to investigate for myself.
We broke their will.
Oh, they did. Well, that confirmed. But there was a targeting flag thrown in the first half of that game with Illinois' green dot defender, and the rules analyst, I believe it was Terry McCauley for NBC, says, this should be textbook targeting, but it's been called all over the place in college football this year. Nationwide, it has been called all over the place. So I think this is what it should be. I don't know if that's what it will be. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be the prevailing thing when you see a replay for any of this type of stuff, because it truly is all over the place. Outside of that game on Saturday, game of inches, Arkansas lost it because Mike Washington was there, maybe 10, 11 yards, I guess, away from the end zone. Mike Washington runs a halfback dive up the middle. Really, all you need is a field goal. You're down by 1. All you need is to just not turn the ball over. And Mike Washington seemingly did well until he was about 5 inches from the ground, and a Memphis linebacker peanut punches the ball out. Again, mere inches away from his elbow touching the ground. It was not far at all. And if that punch happens, maybe when it's a split second later or an inch closer to the ground where his elbow is touching it, Arkansas wins. Sam Pittman's not on the hot seat.
Also, I'd just like to say this in general. Anytime you peanut punch, you're only 2 inches away from a broken hand.
Also, yeah. Also that too. Yeah, that can go terribly wrong.
You're gonna try and punch it out. You're gonna hit his face fast, and you're gonna break your hand, or you're gonna hit his elbow, and your hand's broke, and you're done.
Ugh.
Or you peanut punch it. You peanut punch your team to glory. It could happen.
It could be a lot of things, right? Like the peanut punch too. Yes, I like that as maybe the perfect example as to a game of inches on multiple different occurrences, because again, you miss on that punch, you're breaking your hand, or you miss on that punch and you are missing a tackle. A lot of things that can go wrong there. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Preston Thorne announced on Twitter that yesterday might have been a tough-ass Tuesday. What does that mean?
It's back.
What does that mean? Preston's going to tell us next.
Oh, yes, sir. Today we had a lot of circuits where we just focused on mainly tackling. So Saturdays, tackling shouldn't be our problem. Going for the ball when the running back's falling, just finishing at the bottom of the pile, making sure he's wrapped up before falling. Yeah.
Oh, what it sounds like practice yesterday was, as Preston Thorne described it, on the artist formerly known as the Bird app. A tough-ass Tuesday.
Tough-ass Tuesday!
Sounds like I can see the look in your eyes right now. You've survived a few of those.
Yeah, it's only a look of glee because I've been through it and I've gotten past it. But that phrase, that's a tough ass Tuesday. So just a rallying cry for you and your comrades, because you know, like, hey man, Tuesday is the traditional work day of football at pretty much every level, even in the NFL. Tuesday is the day where you put it in.
That's the hard practice day.
That's the hard practice day. It's probably going to be full pads, depending on where you are in the season, full pads, full contact, ones versus ones, good on good, or however you want to describe it. It's usually that. The drills, you probably do like a live goal line session.
Oh, those intense.
Inside drills where it's just, the good on good in the box working on each other. And then who's that? Was that
was Vakari Swain.
That was Vakari saying that. You probably end up having some sort of circuit work. Back in high school, we used to call it the county fair.
Oh no.
County fair. And so I had a coach, shout out to my guy, one of my favorite coaches ever, one of my mentors, Coach McCurry. Get your tickets. And you get your ticket to the county fair, and you already know it's going to be something brutal. And it's going to be just an extreme focus on physicality on Tuesdays, because the rest of the week, obviously, you're getting your body prepared for Saturday. But Tuesday's the day when you really go hard from a physical aspect.
When they were watching the film of that game, when they were charting missed tackles, and they're watching it with coaches, and they're going through each one, they probably knew that Tuesday was going to be a little tougher than normally. They were going to have a little more physicality demanded out of them on Tuesday.
Yeah, because Coach says something ominous like, "Oh, we're going to get it right." He said something along the lines
We're going to get it right.
Either you're going to tackle or not. And I'm sure he goes on an expletive filled.
A rant that can't be reproduced and repackaged for air. How about that?
Going out there on Tuesday, it's like, man, we're going to either you go back to like things that you were doing in camp, spring practice type, like really fundamental, tough football drills. We used to have we did it every Tuesday. And again, I played for Lou Holtz, so that's always a disclaimer when I say it. But we had this thing called Lou's Laws. And every Tuesday we did Lou's Laws, and they were just basic football drills that everybody on the team participated in. You had offensive Lou's Laws, you had defensive Lou's Laws. And these were just fundamental things like blocking and shedding, getting rid of a block, tackling, all these different types of things. And you would do it in the circuit, maybe 3 minutes each circuit. You run between these circuits. If you've seen a football practice, it's not, to be clear, what they did yesterday is no different than what they did at Dutch Fork, Fairfield Central, Newberry. Everybody in football universe are doing this.
Practices are similar.
Yes.
Structure similar. I don't know if there is a franchise program at any level that is doing things dramatically different from one than the other.
Especially not on Tuesday. Tuesday's the day. You get through Tuesday, you feel like, all right, I can get through the rest of this week. But Tuesday is usually very physically challenging.
Does it make it harder when when one of the practice emphasis is something like tackling, right? Like when it's something that is more fundamental and you have to go back to that instead of maybe implementing game plan stuff or anything like that. It's like, hey, we're going to spend 30 minutes on tackling. We don't have that much time, but we're going to spend 30 minutes on tackling.
Yeah, it is. It makes it just a different tone in tenor of the practice, because how much does game plan really matter if you can't tackle the ball?
Right. We can't get to that stuff.
We can't get to any of those things if we're not tackling the ball and arriving with reckless intentions when we get there. So I'm sure it was a lot of tackling, taking to the ground, grappling. I've seen crazy things on, like 2-on-1s, all kinds of wild stuff. Don't go. If you go to the ground, you got to run.
Oh no! Somebody's running on the play.
Runs,
yeah, somebody.
So I've seen all kinds of wild things, but you have to instill that physicality, and that's something that the team needs to work on. And obviously, they took those corrective measures.
Yeah, I mean, the only players that spoke yesterday, there was just two, is Vakari Swain and Peyton Williams, and they both alluded to, there was a lot of tackling stuff done in practice. So while you can't be at practice to watch and confirm, the players told us as much, right? that tackling was the emphasis for defense in practice, because, quite frankly, it has to be. I mean, you missed, 14 tackles against Vanderbilt, 16 against Missouri. You were averaging 15 missed tackles a game in SEC play.
Yeah.
Can't win that way.
You can't win. And most importantly, you don't want to go back to having this type of practice again.
No.
You're probably on the docket for about 2 more weeks on this just because of how bad it was, but you really want to see your way back into easier TATs.
Hey, who knows that, that becomes a motivating factor. Say, guys, if we do not wrap up on Saturday, we got to do this again next Tuesday. But how much is the play action on offense an emphasis? We'll get to that next.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. And you can play right now in South Carolina. Playing on Underdog is easy. You just pick your favorite players and say whether they'll go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Thursday, I'm looking at Kyler Murray to go lower than 210.5 passing yards. That's Kyler Murray to go lower than 210.5 passing yards. Download the app today and sign promo code EARLYGAME to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code EARLYGAME. Millions of fans have won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in South Carolina. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with one accident to report to you. Looks like it's over near Irmo at North Royal Tower Drive at Woodrow Street. That accident causing a minor traffic backup. As of right now, it looks like it's about 68 degrees outside, which is really the low for today, a high of 90. And sunny skies, maybe partly cloudy around 11 o'clock. But sunny skies for the most part today, high of 90. And then for the weekend, a potential chance of some thunderstorms. Hour number 2 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. No Jen Jensen today. And we are talking about the Gamecock offense because, yes, you only scored 20 points. You needed 29, so 20 was not enough to win. And against some of the offenses you will be playing, 20 might not be enough to win in a lot of those. But they did find a little success in the play-action game, which is a little surprising to some considering how poorly you ran the ball. Now, the rushing total says you rushed for -9 yards, but in college football, it's my biggest pet peeves. They account sack yardage for the team rushing total. But even if you took out the sack yardage, you really only ran for about 22 yards, and you're about 2.2 yards per carry. Still not good.
Just to give you the totality, which counts for 132 out of 136.
That's nasty. That's nasty. It's still bad work. That's bottom 4 in the country, not bottom 4 in the SEC. Bottom 4 in FBS teams playing in the United States of America.
Again, a neighborhood you don't want to live in.
You don't, because you know who's there? My alma mater. My old school's in that neighborhood. For fun fact, I was just out of curiosity. I was like, what are some of the worst blocking grades as a team in college football? So I was looking at the best and the worst. MTSU is the worst pass blocking grade at 25.5 for a team. That's how bad it can be in Division I college football. But you did find some success in the play action game. We parsed through some of the numbers yesterday. 7 for 8 for 126 yards, 15.8 yards per attempt. Not per completion, per attempt. That's on play action. That was Lenore Sellers on play action. Yes, you did have Rasul Faison didn't do you any favors, the one in the goal line, and that kind of blew up the entire play. But when it came to moving the ball up and down the field, you got a lot done on play action, even if you weren't running the ball. So one thing I wanted to ask Shane Beamer yesterday was, when you see something like that working, even if it's a small thing, small element of the game, and it's starting to work, how does that help formulate your team identity? Maybe seeing if we can see a little more of this moving forward. Well, here was his response when asked about the play action.
See that class? I like Elijah. He asks positive questions and wants to build upon the good from the other night. Take note, Professor. What was the question again? Downfield passing game?
Play action.
Play action. Yes. It was good. We had we knew we wanted to throw the ball downfield. That was our plan going into it. I'm probably going to feel this way every week, that with our receivers and our tight ends, we need to take shots downfield because we got guys that can make plays in the passing game, and we got a quarterback that can get the ball down there. So we wanted to throw the ball downfield. The one to Dre that got us down there to the 2-yard line, that was a 3rd and 2 play, if I'm not mistaken, where I'm getting ready to go for it on 4th down. So Mike knew we had 2 downs, so we maxed it up and ran a 2-man just shot play and hit Dre on the ball down to the 2-yard line. So we've got to be able to do that. Now, if we can get this running game going, then really watch out, because now we've got a run game that people have to be respectful of. And the ability to throw the ball over your heads, that's where we need to get to. But certainly when you have a quarterback like Lenore, so we've got good offensive linemen, we got a good running backs, we got a quarterback that can run. There's a running threat. We're just not executing well enough right now, obviously. But I do believe we're close, and as we continue to, it's the old adage now, you always hear, like, you run the ball to, set up the pass. Maybe we're throwing the ball to set up the run. Who knows? But we, and again, I'd love to line up every night and run the ball for 300 yards. That would be awesome. But it's hard to run the ball in this league. And you say, well, hold on, Shane. Missouri just ran for 300. And you're right. But it's hard to run. But we can't be stubborn and bang our head against the wall. We want to run the ball efficiently, but we certainly don't want to prove a point about how we can run the ball all of a sudden be 3 yards in a cloud of dust and not take advantage of these receivers and tight ends that we have on this team also that can do a lot of things on the passing game also.
He said what I wanted to hear. And it wasn't the personal flattery. It was...
Good boy, Elijah. That's what you wanted to hear?
No, not that one. No, I was not intending to get that at all. Not at all. But I eventually got what I wanted out of that, which was maybe we will pass to set up the run. Mm-hmm. Because it's one of my biggest theories in football. Again, this is in football theory. sphere here, not football law. Physics has theories and laws. This is not football law. It is a personal football theory that you don't necessarily need to be good at running the ball for play action to work.
Mm-hmm.
And you weren't good at running the ball at all on Saturday. And the play action game worked really well. You don't have to necessarily run the ball well to pass the ball well. But if one or the other is good, it can help the other. So maybe we will see this team in terms of trying to find what we've been talking about all week. An identity can maybe come in the form of passing the ball to set up a run game.
Yeah, I think you think of it as the same difference as a pump fake in basketball. It's gonna get somebody to hesitate, even a lot of times, even if you're not even a threat to make that shot, you give somebody an up fake, they're just gonna go up, and all you need is that split second to get by them. And just that split second. So that's what the play action does. You put it in the running back's belly. The linebacker, even though he knows we've been stopping the run, that's not how linebackers' brains think.
Maybe they were so good at stopping. He's like, I want another one.
Eat, run. Eat, runner, has ball, must eat him, right? And so he sees the ball there. He takes a split-second step, and then he says, whoa! And he tries to get back to his zone, and already you're behind him, and you drop the ball behind him. And so it's just the action of getting them to react because – to be quite honest, a well-coached linebacking squad is going to take their read steps with the play action. That's what they are trained to do. So what you're really doing is you're taking advantage of them having proper coaching. They take their step, and you try and throw it in behind them. So that's a play that can develop and build. And I've said before, my favorite offense, I think, of all time is the Indianapolis Colts play-action offense where they ran it 12 personnel. They basically had – every play looked the same. Either this is a stretch to edge, this is a stretch to edge where Peyton keeps it and he throws to Dallas Clark. This is a stretch to edge where I keep it, I fake to Dallas Clark, I go deep to Reggie Wayne. This is a stretch to edge, I fake to Dallas Clark, I pump fake to Reggie Wayne, I throw the top to Marvin Harrison. And it's the same play over and over and over and over again, but you just get in the habit of running it. And that is a potential path for this offense.
That's what I love about play action. It's deceiving. It's meant to trick the other team into thinking you're doing something that you're not and just getting them out of position. And really, when we looked at the offense's struggles, a lot of it is you're not moving the chains enough. You're not really good at setting up third downs that are manageable because it's been almost every game. Your average third down has been about 9 yards or more. But what's the one thing that we've seen as a common denominator in the best drives for this team this year? Go back to that first drive of the season against Virginia Tech. It was a play-action bootleg pass to Maurice Brown. Picked up like 20-something yards. It was there was play action there. I mean, that was play action on the 64-yard pass to Harbor at the end of that game in Atlanta, where the defense bites on it. Not just the linebacker, the safety bit on it. The safety moved up 5 or 6 yards, and that's all that took.
That's all you need.
Especially when you have someone like Nick Harbor on the outside, as fast as he is, he gets behind that safety, and now that pass is wide open. It's ball game. Once that safety decided to move up 5 or 6 yards, that was game. Right on that very moment, right? Then that becomes a layup. You look at that first drive against Vanderbilt, even. Your only scoring drive in that game. What was the first play of the game that picked up a first down to Jordan Dingle? Play-action bootleg. The play-action bootleg has been the offense's best, most effective play all year long. This might be that also helps you with a couple things. Getting your tight ends involved that they really like, and moving the pocket for Lenoris. Moving the defense, making them have to account for him, because one thing Shane mentioned yesterday too is that Missouri oftentimes only rushed 3 but dropped 8 into coverage and had 2 guys, basically 2 quarterback spies on Lenoris. They were not going to let Lenoris beat them on the ground. If you're standing in the pocket, those that drop 8 in coverage probably have a little bit easier of a time reading you. If you roll the pocket out, it's going to be harder. That could be an effective counterpunch to how teams are playing you now.
Also, you move the pocket for your offensive line. You make their blocking assignments easier because now half of the line is only just sealing off. You're making the other edge run a little bit further, so if I'm struggling, I can just push them. There are a lot of advantages why you would want to do that, especially if you have an offense that a quarterback that maybe may struggle in the pocket with decisions at times, and an offensive line that can't protect him, move the pocket. It makes perfect sense.
And as opposed, like the difference between that, like an RPO too, blocking's probably harder in an RPO, I would assume, because you can't get too far downfield. If the quarterback decides to pull the ball out and then throw it, but the offensive line's too far downfield, that's a flag. That's something you have to continuously think about while you're playing. Something like that would just allow you to play maybe a little more freely and maybe with a little more reckless abandon to be able to just get a body on somebody. So that's kind of my theory, is that maybe you don't have to run that. Would it help? Yes, absolutely. If you could get, say you got that rushing game from Rasul Faison against Vanderbilt, which they weren't video game numbers, but 15 carries for 71 yards, pretty good. If you become a threat to do that any given game and then you run a lot of that play action, now you really have defenses kind of in a tizzy. And that makes it a little harder for them to have to play against you. Then you can finally see results on offense. Clearly, offense still has a lot of problems, but maybe you find something that you can really start to lean on the more the year goes on. Kind of like how last year, your easy button was Josh Simon. Maybe it's not a specific player. Maybe it's just a concept.
Well, to that point, Jordan Dingle has come along, and he's looked really good at the tight end position. Seems like he's developed into, do they call them TE1s? Is that a thing?
Maybe. I think.
Can I rate that?
Now that I think back on my memory, I think you saying that is the only time I've ever heard TE1.
Nice.
In a non-fantasy football perspective, right?
Jordan Dingle's TE1. And so that might be something that's developing, but also that gives you a drop down, a check down, somebody that is a sort of a safety blanket / easy button for the offense. And that's when the offense has to figure out what they want to be. What is their identity? This seems to be working. I said it yesterday. I will say it again in case you weren't with us. If you go to a restaurant and they do one thing really well, that's usually a very good restaurant. If you go to a restaurant and they try to do 30 different things, it's usually an average restaurant.
There's a reason nobody tries to replicate being the Cheesecake Factory and having a menu that large.
You look at that menu, you're like, I don't know, man. What do? We do a little bit of everything. Okay.
Okay, I guess I'll have the spaghetti.
Well, if you think about your favorite restaurant, or you might have favorite restaurants in every category. I want to go to this place for Italian. I go to this place for a steak. This place for Mexican. And you know that they do each thing really well. That is how it works. And the same thing I think with offenses. You can't try and do mishmash or try and do a little bit of everything. If you're going to be a play-action offense, great, because there's a whole world of fire plays that you can run with that. But you can't be trying to mix-mash play-action offense with a little bit of RPO, with a little bit of nah, man. Do something, pick it, and do it well.
Yeah, and if you have to do something later in the course of a game in terms of adjusting, then if you've done some of it before, then you should be able to at least have the concept to be able to know how to do it, but find something that you're really good at, and then just kind of make that the identity of your offense. I think that's something that the play action gives them, is a chance to be able to do that. We did get some big news last night, though. Chris Lowe tried to spoil the party, and he did, in terms of one part of it, because we know South Carolina's 3 permanent conference opponents moving forward: Florida, Georgia, Kentucky. But who will be coming to Williams-Brice Stadium next season in the SEC? And in 27, and in 28, and in 29. All of that information got revealed to us last night. We'll tell you how that's going to go down in the morning meeting coming up next. for nearly 30 years is something you could count on here in the state of South Carolina to protect your home or your business. That's Midstate Roofing, because they've been that leadership been a little bit of a theme on the show today, especially in that first hour. But if you want to talk about leaders in the roofing and waterproofing industry, Midstate Roofing has been doing it for nearly 3 decades. Doesn't matter if it's high-rise, hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing has been designing and installing bonded systems with that protective guarantee to keep that operation dry and running long into the future, no matter what the specific needs of your facility are. That's what makes Midstate Roofing so good. Give them a call today, 803-356-1919, or online at midstateroofing.com. And remember, if you have an urgent need, you can still call 803-356-1919 and still speak with an on-call technician. Remember, if you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek. From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a couple of accidents to report to you that are causing some issues on the roadways, including one on North Royal Tower Drive at Woodrow Street over near Irmo. That's been causing issues for about 15 minutes or so now. We also have an accident on the exit ramp of I-26 eastbound at Sunset Boulevard exit 110. So if you're on 26 east in that direction, try to maybe avoid that if you can, because it looks like a pretty decent backup. You know, sometimes I don't like to plan like 5 days into the future. Planning a week into the future is a little hard for me. I find it to be a chore. But we can now plan for the next 4 years of conference football games for the South Carolina Gamecocks. And that's how we're going to start off our morning meeting, of course, with these announcements.
Good morning. Good morning. Repeat after me. Today will be an awesome day.
Yeah, it will.
Let's go.
Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
As always, one thing we did know, because we got to talk about it yesterday, because Chris Lowe gave us a little sneak peek as to who the permanent opponents are going to be for South Carolina moving forward into the future now that SEC teams will be playing 9-game schedules. That, of course, will be Georgia, Kentucky, and Florida. But now we know who some of the additional opponents are going to be. So in 2026, are you ready, Preston Thorne?
I guess.
You should be excited because we have a little bit of a revival of the old SEC East.
Okay.
So, at home in 2026, the Gamecocks will be playing in SEC play. Georgia,
Yes.
Kentucky, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Texas A&M. On the road, they will face Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Oklahoma.
Okay.
You dig it?
Yeah,
dig it?
actually a lot more than I thought I would.
We get a year of the old SEC East. Now, minus Vanderbilt, Missouri, whatever. You've only been part of the
they
picture
even
for
count.
like a decade or
Right.
whatever. I'm sure some of us are glad to not have to play
Right.
Missouri. But you get the old SEC East back
Okay.
for a year.
Okay, I'm more excited than I thought. And to be total transparency here, I saw this announcement yesterday. I was like, I'm not paying attention to that. But you have my attention now.
I saw Tennessee there too. I was like, oh, so you get Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, and Tennessee.
Really cool.
You're getting the SEC East. The band is getting back together, minus Vanderbilt, whatever. But the band is getting back together for a year in conference play. And you get to go to Arkansas, which is one that was like my wild card wish for permanent conference opponent was Arkansas.
Yeah.
'Cause you
Arkansas
came
is
at the same
cool.
time.
We went to Arkansas. Arkansas is far, very far. Farther than you
yeah.
think. Yeah.
I've driven through Arkansas once. It was not the most fun part of the road trip. Let me just say that part, right? In 2027, your home opponents in the SEC, Florida, LSU, Missouri, Texas. So the Longhorns will be making a trip here in 27.
Longhorns come to Columbia in 2027.
Yep.
Okay.
So it will be Texas's, fourth year in the conference before you finally see them.
And we don't get a chance to go to Austin.
This is where this comes in. Keep a tab on that.
Okay.
Keep that in the back of your mind.
All right.
In 2027 on the road, we will go to Auburn, Georgia, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Vanderbilt. So we'll be revisiting Vanderbilt. We'll take a year hiatus in the Vanderbilt series. So we have to wait a year to avenge that loss. Surely Diego Pavia will not be applying for an 8th year of eligibility at that point.
You never know.
At that point, he will be able to receive tenure from the school. 2028, home games against Alabama, Arkansas, back, Georgia, Kentucky, Oklahoma. So it'd be Oklahoma's second trip in 3 years to Williams-Brice Stadium. And on the road, you'll get Florida, Mississippi State, Tennessee, once again, and Texas A&M. So another little mini revival in 28 of the SEC East. And in 2029, you will get Auburn at home, Florida at home, Ole Miss and Vanderbilt at home. And on the road, you will get Georgia, Kentucky, LSU, Missouri, and Texas. So the first trip to Austin will be 2029.
Okay. All right. What's that? 3 years from now? 4 years from now?
4 years from now.
All right. Okay.
That's
Mark it down.
It's a long way away. But we know they're going to be there. They're going to get, you can finally make the trip to Austin for a Gamecock game in 2029.
Quick question. Was the SEC on a time crunch here to do this? Because it feels like they kind of fumbled with putting this announcement now in the middle of the season. Like this, this would have been a whole week's worth of content.
In December,
Yeah.
or even like in February.
Yeah, I'm like, what was there? Were they up against the leak? Was it Chris Lowe putting pressure on them that they had to feel like they had to release it now? It's just interesting. Just hey, we have all this football to talk about. We don't. It's kind of like I can't. That's exciting, but we got a game on Saturday.
Yeah. Did Chris Lowe send an informational ransom letter to the offices in Birmingham and say, "I have your information. I have your schedules. They will be released if you don't drop this bag at this the corner of this street and that street by this time." And they said, "All right, Chris, fine. We'll give you the money. Just let us for 3 days. Give me 3 days.
Yep.
We'll put it out there." Might have been what happened.
Okay, I don't know. I just thought
It's a theory.
It's curious timing on this. The SEC usually do well of trying to create content.
Because I know a couple of years ago they did it, like in 23 when we got the 24 schedule, came out in that December,
Yeah,
and it was the perfect time for that. Got to elaborate on that a little bit more. But one thing we like to do in the morning meeting too, book recommendations.
Yeah, here's a book recommendation, man. The topic yesterday was leadership. And
Big
obviously, big theme of the conversation with Shane and the press corps yesterday was leadership. And if you are looking for a leadership book that's sports involved, I would recommend The Captain's Class by Sam Walker. And it's a really interesting book about how leadership works in various sports teams. It looks at different captains of great teams and what he breaks down what all captains have, and then also what made these unique people different. So, for instance, one of the questions yesterday was about Lenore Sellers. Is he a vocal leader, right? Does he have to be a vocal leader? Is he the alpha? And one of the stars of the captain class is does a profile on Tim Duncan. And I don't think anybody would characterize Tim Duncan as being a vocal leader, right? But
No.
he was absolutely the captain of the team, and in the book he goes through and looks at the characteristics of these players that make them a captain. So you might have Tim Duncan on one end over here, Tom Brady on another end over here, Derek Jeter over here, and he just looks at various teams, some teams that I weren't familiar with. He looks at some soccer teams, some hockey teams, but he lays out what captaincy is as a team and these different traits and characteristics. So if you're looking for a book to read, looking to get off the internet, still want to be involved in sports, you want to read something, The Captain's Class by Sam Walker. Great recommendation.
I love the comp there too. Like Lenore Sellers' leadership style might be more akin to Tim Duncan because leadership styles do mirror your personality style. You can't be a personality one way and act one way off the field and be on, because then that will come off as inauthentic, right? Your teammates will be able to, they could smell inauthenticity, right, when that type of stuff happens. That's why maybe some people don't, someone like, Russell Wilson. You can tell. And some of the ads and things, they seem pretty inauthentic.
That's a great, obviously with him being in the news for getting benched. By all accounts, Russ is I think we don't know if Russ is a great guy because a lot of people don't know who Russ is, right? We can't figure that thing out, and it just it hasn't worked in any locker room.
Yeah.
He wasn't the leader of those Seattle teams.
Nope. And in Denver, he did not, reportedly rubbed his teammates the wrong way when he had his own office.
It didn't work there. It hasn't worked anywhere. So he's never been the actual leader. He's been a very good quarterback, but on those Seattle teams, he was not the leader.
No.
He was just along for the ride. He was a very good player. He stirred the drink, all of that, but he was not the leader of those teams. So you look at, that's a great example of somebody who's recognized as a good guy, I guess, but not a leader as far as teams are concerned. He's probably who the coach wants to be, the locker room leader. Hey Russ, give him a speech. Hey guys, we're gonna get after him.
We're feeling dangerous.
Yeah, everyone's like, boo, get that man off the stage.
Some people would say that Russell Wilson is who they thought they were. Well, it's time for us to channel our Denny Green and say, you are who we thought you were. That's next.
Hey guys, feeling like you lost your edge? Brain fog got you struggling to focus? Maybe you're working out and not seeing the results that you're used to? Well, there's a reason you're not feeling like yourself, and it might be low testosterone. Don't just live with it. Reclaim your drive, your energy, and your focus today at the Men's Clinic. Dr. Dan Boatnight will get to the bottom of it. This isn't some faceless online program. Dr. Boatnight personally tailors your treatment program based on your labs and symptoms. At the Men's Clinic, you'll find a non-threatening, comfortable environment that's open to hearing your concerns. Here's the best part. Your initial consultation with Dr. Boatnight is absolutely free, so you can get your T levels checked, and you have nothing to lose and your best self to gain. So don't wait. Call them at 803-875-MENS. That's 803-875-MENS. Or you can find them online at mensclinicsc.com. That's mensclinicsc.com.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with now several accidents. Unfortunately, to get to you, they're causing some issues on the roadways this morning, starting with one on US 178 at Highway 245 at Lee Street, North Royal Tower Drive at Woodrow Street. That one's been causing issues for about 30 minutes now. Kelly Mill Road at Bombing Range Road, I-26 westbound after Jalapa Road exit 66. I-26 eastbound at Sunset Boulevard near exit 110. Clemson Road at Longtown Road, and we have an accident that's got the right lane completely blocked right now on 77 southbound. That's just before the Faro Road exit 19.
The Bears are what we thought they were. They're what we thought they were. We played them in preseason. Who the hell takes a third game in the preseason like it's bull? We played them in the third game. Everybody played 3 quarters. The Bears are who we thought they were. And that's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
We let them off the hook. The Bears are who we thought they were.
It just struck me that I speak for 3 hours on a microphone, 5 days a week. I talk to thousands of kids, taught all kinds of students. I don't know if I'll ever have anything that iconic. I can't believe I'll never say anything that impactful in life. Man, what a moment.
And in a moment of rage, too. Denny Green has probably said so many insightful things in his life because he was a successful football coach. He had some really good teams. His teams, the Minnesota Vikings in the early 2000s, were some of my favorite growing up.
Fun teams.
Those are really fun teams.
Talk about play action. You want to talk about play action?
Dante Culpepper.
We're going to fake it to Robert Smith. And there goes Randy Moss way down the field.
That's how you get that Thanksgiving Day game where he had like 3 catches for 100 some odd yards and 3 touchdowns.
You want to talk about play action? That's a great offense. Vertical passing game, all the stuff that Shane talked about. You fake it to Robert Smith. Whoop! Chris Carter for an automatic first down.
Every time.
Every time. Jake Reed. Ooh, fun teams.
Very fun teams.
Fun teams.
Very fun teams. But Denny Green also is the inspiration for the award we give out this time every single Wednesday. They are who we thought they were. And Preston, I couldn't think of a better team to put in the college ranks to give this award to. Nebraska. Because you had a chance. You had a chance. It wasn't like Michigan was throwing the ball all over the place. Really, all you had to do was stop Justice Haynes, and you're able to win that game. And they could not, for the life of them, stop Justice Haynes on the ground, who ran for a bajillion yards in Lincoln on Saturday. You had a chance to beat a ranked team at home, something Nebraska doesn't do a ton of. And they lost yet another one-score game. The program that has become synonymous with losing one-score games in big-time spots lost another one-score game in a big-time spot. And it doesn't matter if it's Scott Frost coaching, if it's Matt Rule coaching. It doesn't matter. That job has seemingly been coach-proof. Doesn't matter who it is. You coach Nebraska, you're losing a one-score game. So Nebraska, you are who we thought you were.
Not only are you losing a one-score game, and you traded lightly, but I want to make sure we have the number to back it up. They are on a 28-game losing streak against ranked opponents.
Oh.
They have not – I thought I saw this. I had to check really quickly because I didn't want to give out the wrong number. They have not beat a ranked opponent in 28 games.
That's atrocious.
And your quarterback is cosplaying as college Pat Mahomes. To make things
at all
worse.
levels, right? I mean, there's a lot of Pat Mahomes cosplay going on.
Really weird, really strange things. Yeah, Nebraska. Listen, man, I never have. I never can not get enough on Nebraska losing. It was more fun when our previous OC was their OC. He's not that anymore, so it's not as fun. But still like hate watching them. Let's stick with college. I'm not speaking for myself, but I'm going to speak on behalf of my brethren with the purple pants. And I'm going to say number 2, Cade Klubnik.
Yeah.
You might be who they thought you were. They've been trying to tell us that this guy was the guy. They've been trying to tell us that he's first round. They've been trying to tell us he's the next one in the long line after Deshaun and Trevor. We finally got a quarterback. I don't know, man. Clemson's
it's not good.
Problems start and end with the dude who is playing. A little bit different in our conversation that we're having. Yes, we're seeing some of the potential of Lenoris. Yes, he can improve on certain things, but we've seen Lenoris drop dimes. We've seen him do some of those things. Cade has been pedestrian at best, and it showed in their results. Cade Klubnik, you are who a lot of people thought you were.
And he's got a big prove it. What, they've played 4 games, 8 games are prove it games, all of them.
Yep.
Right? I mean, if you look at a lot of mock drafts, they still have Lenoris in the first round. I have not seen many, if any, that have Cade Klubnik in the first round.
Right.
In the eyes of a lot of people who I trust to evaluate NFL talent, who have been doing it for a long time, who are a lot better at it than I am, reflect that, right? It's not looking good. And that's why you're 1-3, is because offensively, defense had its own problems, which is inexcusable considering the amount of talent on that side of the ball. But man, he's done you no favors.
Yeah, he has to be the engine that drives that thing, and he's been the exact opposite. Turnovers in costly spots, whether it's a fumble or a pick, bad. Again, some interceptions, he's trying to fit it in a tight window. Maybe he tries to make a play, but he's thrown what I would categorize, and I'm sure there's a stat, as bad interceptions.
Yes.
Bad picks. You know what I would love to see? What his turnover-worthy plays situation is, because I'm sure it's not great. We don't need to look at that now, but I'm sure it's not great.
Yeah. Thanks to our friends at Pro Football Focus. That information is pretty easily accessible, but I want to keep it in the ACC. And speaking of turnover-worthy plays, they've only given him 3 so far this year, which I say would be pretty generous in 4 games. Keeping in the ACC, North Carolina. I think a lot of us knew that the Chapel Bill experiment wouldn't go very well, and we saw what happened on their first night of the season when on Labor Day they had to play TCU at home, and they had an incredible first drive, and it had everybody from Skip Bayless to whoever saying, oh, he's going to walk into college football, and it's going to be just like the NFL. Everything after that drive has been atrocious. Yeah, you beat Richmond. Way to go. Yeah, you beat another a G6 team. Way to go. Beat Charlotte. But then you had to go on the road and play Central Florida, a team that is in a league where everybody is pretty good, with the exception of some. Oklahoma State is in that part of some. Kansas State turned out to be in that some category. I think you could have put Central Florida in that from the beginning of the season. But Scott Frost's bunch destroyed them, and North Carolina's offense looked abysmal in that game. Because, I mean, this was one of those over the weekend you could have stopped watching pretty early. A 34-9 game where it wasn't really competitive. You played 2 quarterbacks in the game that threw at least 14 attempts. Neither of them broke 100 yards. You ran for 2.5 yards a carry. Oof. It was a nightmare. And Taven Jackson, the ultimate U-Haul All-American for Central Florida, had the best day of his career.
Yeah, I mean, we could go on and on about that, but my question is, do you think this is going to last more than a year?
Nope.
Think this is a one and done?
I think so. And next week we do get what we can now call the Dennis Green Bowl, because next week North Carolina and Clemson are playing each other.
Ooh, big game. I'll be locked in. on that one. That's a huge game. And I have to say, I hope they get them up out of town. That could be a neutral phrase.
Oh, it could be. You want to talk about a desperation bowl.
Ooh.
That's a capital D, capital B, desperation bowl, right? Those are proper nouns right there.
We could, you know what? We'll save it for tomorrow when we put people on the grill. But let's just say, Bill, you're marinating right now.
Oh, he's being seasoned as we speak.
We get you ready to go.
The Tonys is going on him right now as we speak. That's the Denny Green Award, but now it's time for us to put people on the line, and that's next.
Press here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with the insurance to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are, school, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out to you and take care of the job for you. Now, if you're at home, you're looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows or mirrors, and Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. Say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
It's time to put some folks on the line. And man, there are some people from that game alone on Saturday. We could probably do the entire segment on that game. But we'll hit up with a few because I got a couple others in the world of sports that I got to put on the line this week. And Preston, I think we got to start with the Gamecock offensive line. Not even in terms of just blocking. Because I was originally just going to write down the names of everyone who committed a false start penalty. But I said, you know what? This is a team sport. At this point, putting you on the line individually will not do the team any good. Because if you do it, everybody's doing it. So for all the false start penalties, which I believe accounted for 7 of the 14, everyone who committed them and everybody in the unit,
get on the line.
Got to do it.
And because your unit had 7 penalties, 7 false starts, Lonnie Teasley, Greg Atkins, Sam Serby, and don't you run either, Sean Elliott. Get on the line.
You're not exempt either.
That's right.
This is a team effort.
That's right. Don't stand over there and act like it wasn't part of it. Get on the line, too.
And you know what? Maybe if you have to get on the line, then everybody sees it. Everyone's like, "Oh man, I'm not jumping. I'm not jumping anymore. I can't afford to." Because then everybody's gonna get mad at you when you do it. Because that means they got to do it.
Exactly.
That's what this whole punishment.
That's the point about getting on the line.
Now, Rasul Faison, when it's 1st and goal on the 2-yard line, you had a chance to punch it in for 6 in a game where you really need all the points you can muster. I think we feel a whole lot different about the offense where instead of scoring 20 points, you scored 24. You're a lot closer to that game. That field goal at the end of the game for Missouri wasn't a kill shot if you score a touchdown on that possession. 1st and goal on the 2. And all you got to do is be able to put a block on a defender coming up the middle. You don't have to lay him out. Don't have to pancake block him. You just got to make enough contact to buy Lenora Sellers a split second of time to throw out in the flat. a pass that I thought was going to be open. And that could have been not even a walk-in because you're catching the ball standing in the end zone. Maybe catching the ball in the end zone with enough time to be able to fair catch the ball in the end zone. But we didn't get to that because Rasul Faison hit the deck looking like he was trying to go low, chop blocking, which, again, would be a penalty anyway. But to not put any obstruction between yourself and the quarterback, resulting in a sack on that play. And, buddy, when you look at it on tape, it's really bad. And the worst part is I saw him pass block early in the game. He laid a block on, so I picked it up. He picked up a blitz earlier in the game and did it really well. And it resulted in a 16-yard completion across the middle. I know you can do it. And I hear you say you can't do it. On that play when they needed you to do it, you didn't. So Rasul Faison, get on the line.
And look, hey, Lenoris, come here. Come here, Lenoris.
Let him off the hook.
Come here, Lenoris. Get on the line, because you know you can't take a sack in that situation. Get rid of the ball. What are you doing? You got to run, too. That being said, with our quarterbacks, I'm going to stick in the vein of quarterbacks because much like the La Hype train, there was a lot of hype around you. And much like the La Hype train, maybe Cade Kublik, DJ Lagway, or any of these other guys, you've been fairly mid.
Lagway say less than mid.
And so when you score a touchdown against Sam Houston State, Arch, and you want to get over and flex over a poor cornerback,
right? Not a lineman,
not a linebacker,
someone your own size.
Lord forbid if they probably touch you probably get a flag anyway for excessive celebrating and ridiculous taunting. Arch Manning, get on the line. What are you doing?
I also saw one of the most atrocious special teams plays I've seen in a long time this weekend. Auburn's Malcolm Simmons. He's standing on the 10-yard line fielding a punt, doing what you're supposed to do. Got his heels on the 10-yard line. Punt goes over his head. He not only chases it, he chases it, catches it over his shoulder at the 2, and gets tackled at the 2. That thing had some hang time. That ball goes over your head. You don't touch it. And that ball was going into the end zone. It wasn't like it was going to take a crazy bounce and bounce on, the 3 or 4 yard line and, maybe stop there. That ball was going in the end zone. He chased it. He caught it. He got tackled at the 2. And guess what? Oklahoma scores on that. Oklahoma ends up getting the ball back and scoring pretty easily. So, Malcolm Simmons for Auburn. Didn't think I'd ever have to put you on the line, but
get on the line. 803-404-6100. Anybody you want to get online, text us. Let us know.
Firehouse Subs text line. It's here for you to tell some folks to get on the line. Oh, we'll keep doing that throughout the show as well because it is such a release to be able to do that. But starting hour number 3, we'll get to your submissions. And are teams playing Lenore Sellers differently? And if they are, how do you combat that? We'll discuss next.
Football is back, and Underdog Fantasy is the best way to play. And you can play right now in South Carolina. Playing Underdog Fantasy is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. This week, I'm going to take Kyler Murray to go lower than 210.5 yards. That's Kyler Murray to go lower than 210.5 yards. Download the app today. Sign up with promo code EARLYGAME to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code EARLYGAME. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog Fantasy. Make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in South Carolina. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents, several, unfortunately, to get to you. They're causing some issues on the roadways this morning, starting with one on US 178 at Highway 245 and Lee Street, one on Kelly Mill Road at Bombing Range Road, one on I-26 westbound just after exit 66. Got an accident reported on the exit ramp by 26 eastbound over at the Sunset Boulevard exit 110, and on Clemson Road at Longtown Road. Now we have one accident that's causing a pretty significant backup. That one's going to be over on I-77 southbound just before the Faro Road exit at exit 19. Hour number 3 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. No Jen Jensen today, but we are still hanging out with you, talking all things Gamecock football, putting people on the line, and we do have some submissions. Got to start with my man Walt on the Firehouse Subs text line. He says, and with that, I got 2 spots. Dylan, you want to be as successful as Pat? Matt Rule, you want to drop a few LBs? Get on the line.
I like it. I'm always up for putting Matt Rule on the line, for sure.
He's putting Dylan Raiola and Matt Rule on the line.
Put them both on the line. I like it.
Got to win one-score games. It is remarkable how bad that program is at winning one-score games.
And also not winning against ranked opponents. 28 times they've tried and failed the last 28 times. What a streak. That's not just a thing becoming a thing. That's becoming part of your DNA as a program, regardless of coach. Because sometimes you can just say, okay, it's a coach thing. Like Scott Frost got fired because he lost a lot of one-score games. And after a while, it is no longer this is bad luck. This is who you are type things. The same thing with Brent Pry, who going into the season was 1-12 at Virginia Tech in one-score games. And then they lost so bad in 3 games where they were not by 1 score, 1 to Old Dominion at home. That was many a score. You can determine, okay, that's just who you are, right? That's not a reflection on what the program is, but you remove Scott Frost from Nebraska, you bring in Matt Rule, and as soon as seemingly you put on that coaching hat that's got the big red N on it, you immediately become a lightning rod for losing ranked opponents and losing one-score games. And again, to clarify, this is just ranked. This is not like big game James who loses to top 5 teams, the top 10 teams. Because, of course, you can't. That's the thing. You could lose the top 5 team, but we're just saying ranked top 25.
That gives you 25 teams. And as we know, some teams that even if you are ranked in the top 25, doesn't necessarily mean you're playing well. But if you have a number in front of your name, you're going to beat Nebraska.
Yo, odds on favorite.
Got a good one from Reg on the Firehouse Subs text line. Says, my next door neighbor already has tombstones and ghosts hanging around in the trees.
Oh.
May or may not have scared a grown man as he was leaving for work in the morning. So if you're super early for Halloween decor, get on the line.
I am in agreement with this. We haven't even gotten there yet. And again, I understand the stores have to put stuff out early so you can buy things in inventory. I get all that, but relax. You get a whole month of October. A whole month. Relax.
They will get cheaper.
Yes.
They'll get significantly cheaper.
Yes.
We have some up on the inside, but we're not doing the outside yet. Big Halloween house here.
Mm-hmm. Big Halloween house? Okay.
Big Halloween
Nice.
house. We've already at least started watching scary movies. I am a fan of the genre. So I watch them normally anyway, but now we're giving us a couple months on non-football nights.
Really quickly,
Scary
you
movies.
like horror gore or like spooky horror?
Spooky horror.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't do too much gore.
Okay.
Mira can't either. I mean, there are some movies, it's just an absolute no-go.
Gotcha.
Because, I don't know.
You're like, ooh.
I do, yeah. I like, ooh, not ouch. Because I'll watch something happen and I feel it.
Yeah,
I feel it. And
All right.
it's abysmal.
I got it.
It's so bad. A couple of folks, Chris and an unknown texter, are putting Dylan Stewart on the line. The unnamed texter here says, get on the line for the way you finished the last 2 games in a very unsportsmanlike way. And then another one says, this is from Chris, says, tired of the personal foul penalties because you can't get to the quarterback. You could have had a personal foul last game when he picked that player up and dropped him on his head. So both of those guys say, Dylan Stewart,
get on the line. That's fair, because sometimes when you got to put somebody on the line, even if a penalty's not thrown, because the eye in the sky don't lie. We saw it happen. Even though there was no flag, you still got to correct that.
Yeah. And
it's not a good look when it comes at the end of games when it seems like you're seemingly frustrated and you're doing things that are acting out. That's something you have to get corrected.
Definitely. That's the frustrating part, too, because he's got all the talent in the world. I mean, maybe one of the better, like especially his freshman year, last year, was one of the best true freshman seasons from an edge rusher I've seen in a long time. Sometimes it takes a year or two for an edge rusher to be able to come into college football and dominate, not just play well, but dominate and get every team you play against to double team you, right? It took 2 games last year. And not even just 2, a game and a half, because the second half, Kentucky, they're like, okay, we're just going to max protect it. We're going to make sure that this guy sees 2 bodies on this side of the field. And he saw that the rest of the year. Brother, you're going to get frustrated a lot in your career, right? Not just this year or next year, your career, because you are that good.
Yeah, if you plan on being that dude, they're going to try and do everything to you. Just watch tape of Myles Garrett, what he has to go through every weekend, week out.
Single weekend. They finally helped him out, and now teams have to take a little bit of attention off of him, and now he's having a great year and pulled off an incredible Euro step to get to the quarterback the other day. Then you sent me that clip, and I was like, oh, Manu Ginobili didn't have Euro steps that clean.
It was sweet.
It was pretty slick. Now, when it comes to the Carolina offense, because that's one thing people are definitely wanting to put on the line. Mike Shula is not immune. As Beth from Lamar says, Mike Shula fixed the offense, or get on the line.
Yeah, that's absolutely. The numbers don't lie, man. 132 out of 136 in rushing yards per game. 125 out of 136 in sacks allowed.
It's not going to get it done. That's not going to get it done. And one of the things that has been a hot topic of conversation when it comes to LaNorris Sellers is maybe usage, right? And usage can vary based on what defenses give you. So yesterday, Jordan Kay, who's going to join us today too, because he asked the question, I was like, hey, that was a really good question. Got some really good stuff there. So he's going to join us at 8:30. But he asked about LaNorris and how maybe scrambling hasn't been as much of a part of the game this year. And Shane did give us a lot of insight as to why that might be.
Probably a little bit of both. I mean, you want to coach him up on the different looks that you're going to get and, where to go with the ball. But teams aren't dumb, too, either, Jordan. I mean, they're going to watch tape. And if you watch Missouri, there's a lot of times that they were dropping 8 people into coverage, and they had 2 people whose only job was to keep their eye on LaNorris Sellers. So they're rushing 3 guys. They have 2 guys that are spying, if you will, and then with 6 guys that are in coverage. It's tough. And now as coaches, we've got to have schemes for him to be able to do that. The 3rd and 16 against Clemson, yeah, they had a spy on him, and we know what happened. So I'm not sitting there to say, oh my God, they got a spy on LaNorris, don't run. We're not saying that, but there's a time and place, and we've got to be able, like I said, to throw the ball downfield. We've got to be able to check the ball down to the running back if they are going to, like I said, teams aren't dumb. They're going to keep an eye on LaNorris. They want to keep him in the pocket. They're going to play soft coverage, typically on Nick Harbor, because they don't want to get run past. And we showed the ability to run past DBs the other night with some other receivers. So teams are going to try and keep everything in front of them, keep a spy on LaNorris. And until we show that we can run the ball, that's probably what we're going to continue to see defensively. So we've got to have plans to combat that. We've got to be able to run the ball better. But again, I've never told LaNorris, hey man, make sure we run more tonight or run less tonight. It's what the defense is giving you and what the game plan is each week. And again, Kentucky does a really good job. Coach Stoops is a defensive coach. Brad, their defensive coordinator, is phenomenal and does a really good job and makes it really, really hard on teams. That game last year was 10-6 midway through the 3rd quarter. People forget that. I mean, that's always a slugfest and going back. Looking at this game from 26, take COVID out of it, but from 2016 on, the winning team has never scored more than 24 offensive points. We scored 31 last year, but the offense scored 24 because Nick had the interception. So 2016, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22, 23, 24, no one has scored more than 24 points in this game. So, I hope we score more than 24 on Saturday night. That would be awesome, but it's going to be a slugfest, and we've got to be really, really physical and ready to go compete against a really good Kentucky team Saturday night.
If you're watching on the YouTube stream, you'd have seen Preston Thorne giving a no.
No. You don't. No. Because this is the essential question. I know we had an essential question at the beginning, but is LaNorris great?
He is. I truly believe.
Well, guess what? You have to treat him like a great player because there's great players all. Shane played with a great player. His name was Michael Vick. You think those coaches weren't dumb? Those coaches had game plans for Michael Vick too. And you know what Frank Beamer did? Mike, go get it.
Unleash.
We got to figure out what we're doing here. If he is who I think he is, who he's shown himself to be on several occasions, it kind of doesn't matter what the other team game plans for. You don't just take what they give you. You take what you want with the possibly best player in the most explosive player in the country. That's what you think before he got injured, you think teams weren't preparing for John Mateer at Colorado? Of course they are. It don't matter. That's your best player. He has to go out. You can't just go with what the team gives you because of course they're gonna give you other things and try and make you distribute the ball to other places. It's not how great players work. Going back to Tim Duncan, you think they ain't trying to put defenses around Tim Duncan to limit him from hitting that ridiculous bank shot 20 times a game? Of course they did. Can't stop it though.
Yeah. But at the same time, great players can, if you say, okay, we're going to completely sell out to stop you from doing this, then he should throw for 300 yards a game, right? Because another thing that makes LaNorris special too is there's a lot of arm talent there. And I think against Missouri, he proved he puts the ball in some tight windows. And in a couple of games this year, he's put the ball in through some really tight windows. Thankfully, the angle I was sitting at for the Virginia Tech game, I got to see it from a certain angle where I was like, I don't know how that ball got through.
Coaches are not dumb. That's what Shane said. I agree with that sentiment. I believe that Clayton White and the defensive staff did everything they could to try and stop Ahmad Hardy last weekend. But guess what? They didn't because he's great. They had a game plan for it.
They did.
And then you got to stress the game plan. Don't just say, oh, well, man, they're trying to stop Ahmad. I guess we're going to have to do something else. Stop it. Until you stop this a lot, I'm going to have to test. I'm going to have to see if you really about what you say you about.
Well, here's the thing, too. If you're able to continue to get success in either the play-action game or if you're rolling the pocket out and you're picking teams apart for 300-plus yards, and if you can run the ball good enough. Now, clearly, Saturday night was nowhere near good enough with your running backs in terms of getting a traditional run game going. Doesn't that also make defensive coordinators have to bail out of that? They're going to have to bail out of that eventually. And you can't just take one thing away from a quarterback for a while and expect them not to be able to pick you apart, or else that quarterback would be one-dimensional. Still threw, for 300 yards. How are you able to also get him to where he can still be a threat to scramble, or just say, hey, if you see anything, go. If two guys that are spies, they're not faster than you. That's another thing, too, because I think we are both on agreement. The most overrated thing in football, outside of dropping an offensive lineman into coverage, is probably the quarterback spy, because most linebackers in the SEC, even in the SEC, are not faster than LaNorris Sellers.
Yeah, it's just not going to work. I've never seen a great player that coaches don't game plan for, but yet great players still show up every week and ball out because they're great players. So if LaNorris is great, like I think he is, then you need to put the offensive game plan in place to let him show that.
Or if they're saying, hey, this is what they're doing, okay, if they want you to pick him apart, because he can do that through the air. I know a lot of the knock is on LaNorris not making throws. The guy can make throws. I firmly believe he can. I mean, he beat Missouri last year doing that. He threw for 327 against Missouri last year. He threw for 302 against them this year. But you got to be able to continue to let him do what he does. And I think that's why I love rolling him out, because you have that threat to be able to make something happen if somebody's out of position, and you can sling the ball downfield when somebody gets open. Because the one thing, when you drop 8 into coverage, it's not all going to be man-to-man. It's going to be a lot of zone. And against other opposing defenses this year, that's been their best offense. Even in the Vanderbilt game, they moved the ball down the field a little bit. They picked apart a zone defense when Lenoris had time to throw, and Lenoris has time to throw when he's able to roll out and move the pocket a little bit.
Also, if they're only rushing 3, that means there shouldn't be any pressure on the quarterback.
Also, shouldn't that mean there's some lanes up the middle?
Should.
Or on the side?
Should.
So if anything, people playing him differently should just mean he's still successful, because there are counter punches to that. You got to let him know what the counter punches are and let him do his thing. So that's what they're looking like on the offensive side of the ball. But Clark Brooks joined us yesterday and said you don't want to move backwards. And this team is still, unfortunately, really good at that whole moving backwards thing. We'll replay some of Clark Brooks from yesterday and get a reflection on what this team is at right now with their offense coming up next here on the early game. Here on the game, we have a lot of football coverage, so let's break that down really quick. We've already heard Shane Beamer's press conference yesterday. We aired that live at 1 o'clock on Thursday. That's tomorrow night. At 7 o'clock, Carolina Calls with Shane Beamer and Todd Ellis. They're going to be live at Backstreets. They're going to be talking about the Missouri game and previewing for the Kentucky game. Friday night at 7 o'clock as well, myself, Justin Hall, the Cotman Transmission High School Football Scoreboard Show. We have a fun treat for you planned this week. We will have a player in studio, so stick around to find out who it is that's going to be joining us for a few segments in the studio. And then on Saturday, 2:30, Gamecocks Game Day, live from Jay's Corner Bar at 1015 Rosewood Drive. Always a fun setting to be able to catch the game and come hang out with us. And then, of course, our coverage, 7:30, that's kickoff between South Carolina and Kentucky. From the Wetzel Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with several accidents to get to that are causing some issues on the roadways, starting with one on US 178 at Highway 245 and Lee Street. Got one on Lewis Rast Road at Southbound Road, Kelly Mill Road at Bombing Range Road. That one's been causing some issues for a while now. 77 southbound at Killian Road near exit 22. A pair of accidents on 26 eastbound, one at I-20 near exit 107B and one at Sunset Boulevard at exit 110. Got one on Hope Ferry Road near Midway Road, Clemson Road at Longtown Road, and one that's got the right lane completely blocked on 77 southbound just before the Farrow Road exit 19. We got a ton of insight yesterday from friend of the show, Clark Brooks. And Preston and I thought it was pretty appropriate to repurpose some of that because a lot of it is something we're going to be looking for moving forward, especially when it comes to what the issues are on offense and what concepts do and do not work. So I will lead off with the question I asked him about, after reviewing the tape and seeing everything that you have through 4 games this season, what are his biggest takeaways of Carolina's offense?
First of all, good morning, Elijah. And then second, it's the same old issues that have plagued this offense the last few years. Line play's not good. They're moving backwards a whole lot. Quarterback's not ideally seeing the field as well as he needs to. Plays are being left on the field. There's a whole lot of dysfunction up front that's throwing off timing and comfortability with operating in the pocket. And there's just not a whole lot of things they can bank on to move the ball down the field. Even though this offense is capable of getting explosives, it's really capped where they're more average. And of course, they haven't necessarily played the hardest slate. The first few weeks, they really had to bank on those massive punt returns to get points on the board. So there's just a lot of things going on from an operational standpoint, and it all starts up front for me. So I have said before, under Shane Beamer, it's very hard to ignore from someone in my seat to get past the fact that South Carolina for 4 straight years had a double-digit negative play rate. And Elijah, guess what? After the first month of the season, they're dead last in the SEC in negative play rate, again, at 12.2%. It's one of their worst clips they have had. And, of course, when you're looking at pressure rate allowed, they're in the bottom 3 of the conference there. And when you're looking at rush yards before contact, excluding scrambles, only 1.5 yards on average. Guess what? Only Florida is worse than the conference. So, it all starts up front and moving backwards way too much and putting themselves in holes that they're just unable to, get out of. And, of course, a lot of people want to focus on that third down statistic. They're absolutely one of the worst in the country on third down. But I will tell you, some of the best third down offenses are offenses that avoid third down the best. So they got to do a better job on first and second down, just not moving backwards and staying ahead of the chain.
And earlier this was like about a week or so ago, Shane Beamer wanted to dispel a narrative that Lenora Sellers is not running the ball as much. Not running the ball as much on design runs. He says he's running on design runs the same as last year because they run the same plays. Well, the last 6 weeks of last year, we saw a lot more consistency from the offense. What's kind of your take on the difference between maybe the last 6 weeks of last year and what we've seen this year, specifically with how Lenora Sellers is being used?
I would give some pushback against that. One of the things that really helped the offense find its footing, like you're saying, were these quarterback perimeter runs. So you can call them a few different things. Of course, there are going to be wrinkles based on what the front are, depending on exactly what scheme you will see. But generally speaking, it's going to be like a pin pull base type of thing where you're going to have front side folds and a couple guys work around the edge, be personal protection for him while he works around the edge there. That has been visible, but definitely not as much as the last half of the season when he became a lot more of a dynamic aspect to help buoy the run game. So they're trying to do a lot of it's a kind of visible RPO, but you'll see this. It's the fast motion, jet motion, where it's a zone away where you'll have a slide, and one of the guys on the fast motion is running a wheelie switch, so a post curl wheel along the sideline. And a lot of them are just right-handed because it just makes sense. A lot of that has been muddy, and even though you would think, well, it's getting our guy a predetermined read, it's outside the mess, but you can see it a little bit better. It's just not really working. And yes, you would think it can maybe grease Lenore Stellar's ability to scramble and get on the move. It's just not really materializing that way. So play-action boots this year, they've only run 4 in meaningful minutes. Half of them have worked. I would recommend maybe doing that for real as opposed to doing the RPO, because if you're doing an RPO, you have to tell your offensive line you can't go downfield too much. If they're not going to go downfield too much, they're not going to fire off the ball as hard. If they're not going to fire off the ball as hard, they're not going to have as much cushion. So there's this cascading effect in the operation that I'm just not a big fan of. I know there are certain reasons why they're doing it, but I would just recommend maybe changing course that way, getting Lenore really outside the pocket, whether on design runs or on the bootlegs where he has a true run-pass option, and the line is a little bit more, they're in the right mindset to know, okay, we know our role on this play. We're not trying to gain vertical push here. We're not trying to ruin the timing or anything like that with these wheelie switches and slides, again, which have not really worked despite being visible and tried a whole lot. So, yeah, I mean, I would definitely push back against Beamer saying, yeah, we're running the same plays. You are and you aren't, but you're still, putting a lot of weight into Lenore Stellars to make plays, but you're not necessarily putting him in the positions to maximize his skill set.
And that you touched on something I really wanted to ask you, and it's that play-action bootleg. Because from just our feeling of watching the game and rewatching the game, we noticed that when that happens, that they've had a lot of success. The first play of the year, a play-action bootleg that picked up like 20-something yards on a little tight end leak out. We saw it a couple times against Missouri, and that play-action was their best source of passing offense. What makes that successful, and what are maybe kind of the pros and cons of just running that more?
So in the past, play action usually goes potency, it usually goes verticality, it usually goes a little bit more pop, obviously, throwing downfield because you have that deception element. You're trying to manipulate defenders, moving them out of their spot. And when you have a very poor run game that's not respected, obviously you don't necessarily, from a defensive perspective, you don't always have to allocate your resources to stopping the run because it's so simple to stop. You're not going out of your way to, overcompensate. But same time, because of how South Carolina is fairly deliberate with their inside run game, it can be a little bit twitchy for linebackers to jump. And, of course, if you are in a two-shell-high defense, unless you want to be out-gapped, you almost always have to redirect a safety towards the box. If that rotation happens, you have more single high. Single high is a lot more easier to take advantage of two deep coverages. As you know, if you're playing two deep coverages, you're keeping everything basically in front of you. You have your middle of the field open, but you have linebackers underneath it where seeing the field isn't as clean as a single high man, cover 3, where you have the seams open, you have the outside, the numbers open. So like I was saying in the operation, they are trying to do a little bit more things where you can see the field better. But the play action in general, it's a major source of their big plays. So if we're looking at their top gainers, Yankee concepts, so those are also known as Portland or Hiccup if you're coming from certain types of schemes. So basically these are deep, heavy set play actions with a deep cross over the field, and then you'll have another deep route to complement it, whether it is a deep post, whether it's a bend back corner, whether it's just a straight fade. But these are 15% of the offense's plays the first month of the season. They are a major source of how they move the ball downfield, a major source of explosive gains. And, of course, they play off of floods, which are, you're just trying to overload a certain part of the defensive zone with a bevy of routes. But they themselves have not worked, but Yankees, the counterpunch, have absolutely been potent off of play action. So while, you can maybe see a little bit more aggression throwing the balls in harm's way, that has not been Sellers' problems whatsoever. It's a little bit more timidness, recognizing things in time, and being comfortable from messy and breaking down pockets. Because like I mentioned,
good stuff there from Clark Brooks. I had to cut that one short, but I highly recommend going back to our YouTube page and watching the rest of that because it was amazingly insightful. Coming up next, Our pal Jordan Kay from the State Paper joins us to break down those very same things here on the early game. Man, one of the worst feelings is walking through your home and on your carpets that you feel like are really clean until you step on something that can only be described as gummy or matted down. Don't like that. Don't want it. It actually happened in my house just the other day, and that's why I call Zero Res, right? Because whether it's the weird gummy matted down carpets or maybe some stains that you would describe as mystery stains, don't know how that got there, but it's creating a mess. Zero Res is here to help you out, and the best part is that this month, which there's not much time left, you can save a lot of money. The more you clean, the more you can save. 3 rooms for $119, 4 rooms for $144, and 5 for just $169. Save up to $30 and schedule with Zero Res today, and you can do that by scheduling online at ZeroResColumbia.com. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards, doesn't matter, because it's the right way to clean. From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with several accidents to get to you, starting with the worst one here, apparently, on 77 southbound before Farrow Road near exit 19. That's got the right lane completely blocked, so there's a pretty significant backup there as of right now. We also have accidents on Clemson Road at Longtown Road, Hope Ferry Road near Midway Road, I-26 eastbound at I-20 near exit 107B, 77 southbound at Killian Road near exit 22, Kelly Mill Road at Bombing Range Road, Lewis Rast Road at Southbound Road, and lastly one on US 178 at Highway 245 and Lee Street. Our pal Jordan Kay from the State newspaper joins us right now here on the early game because that clip we heard early in the hour, Jordan's the one who asked it. So I was like, man, that's some good insight there because I know Jordan's going to write about it. So stay tuned to that at the State. So we got him on right now. Jordan, appreciate your time. And I thought we got a pretty interesting answer there when it comes to how Lenora Sellers is facing defenses that are different maybe from last year. What was kind of your takeaway from Shane's answer to you?
Yeah, I think my takeaway is, after we watch, the coaches are trying here. I think it's hard to watch, Lenora Sellers these first 4 games of the season because we're all thinking about that Clemson game from last year. We're thinking about the 3rd and 26 or 16, whatever it was. We're thinking about him rushing for 166 yards, and then you fast forward to the Missouri game, and he, aside from the sacks, runs 5 times and only scrambles 2 times, and then you start to wonder why. And I think Shane Beamer gave a solid answer, kind of saying, like, hey, defenses are not stupid. Like, they have 2 spies on Lenoris. They're keeping him inside the pocket. There's nowhere for him to go. Could he maybe scramble around, like, maybe a little more? But he's like, there's not a ton he can do on some of these plays.
And then when it comes to, I guess, there's the scrambling, there's the designed runs too. And there was the discussion last week where Shane says, I don't know where the conspiracy comes from, that he's not running the ball more and that they call the same plays, but clearly fewer design runs in the game on Saturday. That could be a result of maybe Missouri's game plan or maybe Carolina's game plan against Missouri's defense. But what are you not seeing, I guess, from the design runs this year that are not having the same success as we saw him have last year whenever they put him in design runs?
Yeah, I'm just surprised there's not even the threat of a designed run. They're not even trying it on like the first or second drive just to kind of prove like, hey, this is an option. We saw it against Virginia Tech. You think back to the opening drive, Lenora Sellers ran the ball like 3 times, a lot of them on design runs, a lot of them on 3rd downs, where instead of giving it to the running back, hey, let's just give it to Lenora Sellers. And I know that might be, a little bit of an injury concern to be like, hey, we're not going to just run our quarterback up the middle 7-8 times a game. We're trying to keep him for the entire season. But, it's tough when you can't get the running game going and your running backs only break 1 tackle on a night.
Yeah, I mean, the running game itself, from the running backs, not good enough to be able to win games. I mean, I think we can all maybe agree Lenora Sellers is your best runner here, right? In terms of being able to just make something happen out of nothing. But moving forward, do you think we maybe see more of that? I don't know, because, I mean, you mentioned when Shane responded to you about how teams are dropping back and they have 8 in coverage, 2 quarterback spies. I still think that, there's probably worth going back to that and saying, hey, if you see it and there's no passing play there, just go ahead and take off because we still like our chances to be able to move the chains at that point, or at least have something made out of nothing like we saw maybe against Virginia Tech a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that they would want to try it a little bit more, but I also thought that going into the Missouri game, I thought, hey, they're going to at least try to have Lenoris run, and then I think he didn't have a designed run until like midway through the second quarter, and so it just really was an odd thing to see. It seemed like they were okay almost just not running him and just being like, hey, yeah, sit back in the pocket, hand the ball to your running backs, and, you know, let's try and win this game. But, you know, I'm kind of with you. It's like, hey, let's try and just send him up the middle a couple times, at least show that, you know, it is possible, and keep the defense kind of on their toes waiting for that. And also, I mean, he, like you said, he's South Carolina's best runner, best pure runner. And the more times that you can get the ball in his hand and let him kind of go full speed, that's probably a good thing. There is obviously the injury concern, though, and that is understandable.
One thing Preston and I have talked about this week, and I guess again in the week leading up to this game too, is where does this offense's identity, right? Like, where is your bread buttered? What can you go into every game being able to count on in terms of what you do well offensively? We have a 4-game sample size here with some various and some not so good results. But if you had to maybe hammer home what the identity of this offense is, what conclusion, I guess, do you reach?
Geez, I don't know. It's hard to really say that there is an identity. I mean, you could maybe say, like, hey, our identity is we're going to hit on some deep shots every game. And I don't know necessarily if that is an identity, but that right now is what South Carolina is doing the best. You think back to the Virginia Tech game of Sellers hitting Nick Harbor over the middle. Vandrevius Jacobs had over 100 yards receiving, that incredible touchdown in the second quarter against Missouri, and then kind of that long catch that set up the first and goal to 2, and then Lenoris takes the sack. I thought Brian Rowe, the true freshman, really came on and proved that he is a downfield threat, and I think there are defenses are going to have to play South Carolina being like, hey, these guys can run over the top of our defense, and they also can make contested catches in man coverage. So we might have to drop more or have safety help. And so if you're thinking of any sort of identity, I guess it's that. But I don't know necessarily that, hey, we can hit on a couple shots a game is an identity.
And lastly, it's kind of been a Jekyll and Hyde split between these 4 games of the defense, looking great against Virginia Tech, tackling well against South Carolina State, and now you're averaging 15 missed tackles a game in the first 2 games of SEC play. What are some of the biggest issues you see when you see this defense kind of failing to make tackles in these SEC games?
Yeah, I just think it's just guys not rallying to the ball. You watch them against Hardy, and it's like 2 or 3 guys will be there, and everyone else kind of thinks they made the tackle, and then Hardy somehow will slip out of it and catch everyone on their heels and run for another, 20, 30 yards. So it's, I think that's just something that you actually can emphasize in practice is, hey, we need 11 guys to the ball. When you see the running back take a handoff, everyone needs to get their butt over to him like a magnet. And so I think that actually is something that's fixable. I mean, for better or worse, it's not like they were missing a ton of like one-on-one tackles. It was a lot of stuff of, hey, we kind of thought this guy was down and couldn't finish, and then, he popped out.
Yeah, and against Ahmad Hardy, you can't do that. That guy, to me, the best running back in college football at this moment. Jordan, appreciate your time as always, man. Looking forward to seeing you again here soon and getting you back on the show down the line.
Thanks, Elijah. Have a good one.
Good stuff there from Jordan Kay at the State Newspaper. He's a winner, as always. We'll give you our winners for today's show to round out the Wednesday edition of the early game. If tax issues are weighing you down and giving you some trouble, well, fear not, because John Ecton and his team at the Ecton Law Firm are here for you. Look, John Ecton and his team for a long time have been resolving income or business tax issues for good. Again, business or income tax issues, it doesn't matter, and that's why you need to set up the consultation, a free consultation at 803-771-9800. John Ecton and his team will sit down with you, talk about the specific situation you're going through, and be able to formulate a game plan from there, just like any good football coach would do with a football team. They have proven local solutions, and they've helped thousands of families and businesses just like yours escape that pesky IRS maze. So take that first step today to a worry-free life by calling the Ecton Law Firm at 803-771-9800. And as always, you can visit EctonLawFirm.com. That's ECTONLawFirm.com.
Winners.
Coach Singletary wants winners. So it's time for us to fulfill that wish. Vernon Davis was not a winner for him that day, and that's what sparked that rant. And you know what? Vernon Davis had a really good career in the NFL, but that's how I'm always going to associate him.
Unfortunately.
Is that?
Unfortunately, yeah. He has to wear that one for forever.
He does.
Again, man, we get up here and you talk on these microphones for all this time. Can't quite nail something that iconic.
No.
Just how he
takes a perfect storm.
Can't win with him. It's perfect.
Can't do it.
Can't do it.
Our winners for today's show, Preston Thorne.
Speaking of iconic, I'm going to go some numbers here. I'm just going to go all numbers here for winners.
Oh, winning numbers. What is this, the Powerball?
Let me just start with the first most winning number, 40. Because I'm a man.
I'm 40.
I'm 40. A winner, Mike Gundy, meets the place where all college coaches go to the final resting place for all college coaches.
Oh.
Because they say if you're not a coach until you get fired. And so Mike Gundy has earned his stripes, and he is now officially a coach because he has been fired from Oklahoma State University.
You know, the funniest part about that rant might not be the I'm a man, I'm 40. That's the headliner, right?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes a really good concert may have a great headliner, but have an even better opener. Because he starts that off with, I was given this newspaper by a mother of children. We forget about that because the I'm a man, I'm 40 takes away from the I got this from a mother and a pause of children. That is an all-timer for me.
18 years ago, by the way.
He's not 40 anymore.
Not 40 anymore.
No, absolutely not. I heard Les Miles is available, though, for Oklahoma State if they want to try something new.
I thought they wanted winners.
They wanted to try something new. I was getting ready to say, you would do your I guess, relations department, public relations department has a pretty easy, not so need to Photoshop picture you could use.
I was just trying to think of your boy from because I was trying to think really quickly the least capable national championship winning coach, Les Miles or my guy from Auburn,
Gene Chizik.
Gene Chizik. Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, LSU's had two of them. I put Ed Orgeron there too. No one is knocking at the door of Ed Orgeron right now, or Les Miles.
Yeah.
LSU's won 3 titles since the turn of the century with 3 different head coaches.
Saban.
Yes. Arguably the greatest coach in the history of the sport. Les Miles. Okay. Ed Orgeron.
Yeah. Well, we saw how Les. This is the winners segment. So let's keep here. Let me give you another number. 11 win seasons. Oklahoma State has had 10 of them.
Okay.
They've had 11 of them. I'm sorry. 10 win seasons. Oklahoma State has had 11 of them.
Swap those.
Swap them.
Yeah.
Out of those 11, Mike Gundy's been responsible for 10 of them. 8 as a coach, 2 as a quarterback. Winner.
He is a winner. And winner in terms of also just being an overall quote machine. That I'm a man, I'm 40 is not the only one that we've been blessed with over time.
I mean, it's his greatest hits, but he's got bangers.
I mean, if Mike Gundy is Led Zeppelin, I'm a man, I'm 40 is Stairway to Heaven. And then there are plenty of bangers after that, right? Like, that's just your introduction, which I never thought I would compare Mike Gundy and Led Zeppelin a day in my life. A day in my life. Winner for me, Tim Duncan, because we had a Tim Duncan mention on the program because we talked about leadership styles in the first hour of the show. If you missed it, hit us up on our YouTube page. You can find it there. Lenore Sellers may be more akin to Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan, one of the greatest quiet assassins in the history of not just the sport of basketball, in sports in general. That guy was a winner, a ton of titles, 5 to be exact, and one of the greatest scoring power forwards ever. And did so without having, he was the leader of the team without having to be what you would normally think of as a classic, quote unquote, alpha of the team.
Correct. One of the greatest, absolutely great squad, great team. And again, to go back to this conversation, yes, they were trying to double, triple, and do whatever they could to stop Tim Duncan, but they could not. The big fundamental always showed up. On top of that, being that we talked about him being mentioned in the book recommendation I gave today was The Captain's Class by Sam Walker. If you want to read a book about sports, leadership, captains, what makes leaderships in locker rooms go out, this is an excellent book. It's leadership for sports dudes, so it's really cool.
Another winner for today, the concept of Tough Ass Tuesday, because it was back yesterday. It was back. Bakari Swain talked about having to go through circuits in terms of trying to get the team, to tackle better. They're doing circuits, and I could feel the PTSD through the phone on Preston's tweet yesterday declaring that Tough Ass Tuesday is back.
County Fair, get your tickets. If you're ready for the County Fair, if you know, you know. And you probably, thankfully, have progressed past that in your life.
Hopefully it doesn't tear you apart as much as it used to. It does not strike the fear of God in you like it used to. Those are our winners. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri, their winners in the extra points, coming up next. And I'd be remiss to do an entire winners segment and not follow up with one of my favorite winners. That's Midstate Roofing, because they didn't just do it today. They're not just a winner for today. They've been a winner for nearly 30 years in the roofing and waterproofing industry. Look, if your home or business has a little bit of an issue with that roof, which is clearly not just a little bit of an issue, that's a big issue. Midstate Roofing is here for you, and the best parts, too, is they can even be helpful after hours. That 803-356-1919 number I always tell you about, you can call that after hours and speak to an on-call technician. They're incredibly available, and that's what makes them also incredibly valuable. You can always also go online at midstateroofing.com to be able to reach them as well. You can speak to that technician after hours or to a team member during hours, and it doesn't matter. High-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, you hear me say it all the time. If you need it protected, Midstate Roofing has got you covered, along with a maintenance contract for that roof. 803-356-1919 once again, or online at midstateroofing.com. And if you have a leak, let Midstate take a peek.